Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is where you're at. Today I just thought that I wanted to give you like a little tour of the model that everybody's been asking me about lately. We started with a paper mock-up of just the church building. And all I wanted to do was make the church at first. And as I was writing this like whole TV series about Salem MI, I kind of thought, oh, let's expand the model. Let's make a couple other buildings and then why not do the whole town? First of all, I got the map out of Google's Maps, and this was going to be the layout of the town, and I realized, okay, that was going to be enormous and probably fill the entire garage, which you didn't have space for. So I kind of decided that there were some cabinets along one wall that we could like cut in half or replace with half-size cabinets and double that and set the model on top of that. So underneath this thing here is all the stuff that was stored in the cabinets against the garage wall, and now the model sits over that. The other thing I thought about was, okay, what if we had to move this model for any reason? So I decided let's build it in 3 sections. So I came up with a 9x4 plan split into 3 sections of 3x4 and kind of doubled layers, so the train would have room to turn around underneath the village and then come back up and run again. Building the church was the first thing, and if you've seen, we have another video on YouTube that kind of shows how the whole church was put together and built. The other buildings were much easier. Somehow I took, just decided to start with the biggest, most complicated one. As a matter of fact, some of the other houses and buildings were put together in a matter of, a few minutes versus the weeks. Literally took like 8 or 9 weeks to build the church. Each house that we put together, I wanted to look like the original house, like it looked back in the 1970s when the whole TV series takes place. So I have a ton of slides and pictures and things that I could use for research. And in some instances, they actually scanned houses to get either the siding or the bricks or something and actually use that. And we have a laser cutter that would actually engrave the exact pattern into the wood we used to build the model. We put lighting in each house, so that had to be planned out so that there were, holes in the walls and support systems inside the house themselves that the wiring could all go through. And we had to plan that also for the actual wood set that the buildings were going to go into. We built this HO scale so we could use an HO train set with it. The problem is the little lights that come with HO would have literally cost like $10,000 to put in all these buildings. So I opted to use regular LED Christmas lights, which cost about $7 a string, and I think we used 5 strings, so that was like $35 for the lighting. The train track layout was probably one of the most difficult engineering feats that I had to figure out, given that I haven't done this before. And my idea was to have a loop where the train would go around the village, go back underneath, turn around, and come back up and repeat, and keep repeating that. If you know anything about HO train tracks, the positive and negative currents on the track tell what direction the train goes. And I needed to change directions to come back. So that meant having to put in a switching track system as well as some infrared lights that would automatically switch those tracks and switch the polarity of the power current so that the train would be running in the right direction after it got through a loop. The train would then go, around the loop, past the infrared sensor, and when it hit the infrared sensor, it would do 2 things. It would first switch the track so it could go back into the main track coming out of the loop. And then second of all, it switched the polarity of the main track so that it would be running in the opposite direction without any fail. Initially, I built the infrared sensors so that they were right out in the open, they could be tested and everything else, but I needed them hidden. So Salem had this landfill that the residents didn't really like that much, but it was there. So I decided to build this mountain that would represent the landfill in the town, and then put a tunnel through it. So the train would go through the tunnel of the landfill, trip the hidden infrared sensors at that point in time, and come back out. And of course, the opposite infrared sensors on the lower level are hidden anyways. In order to reach the lower level, to access the wiring, set up the trains, everything like that, I had to make a section of the town in the center that would actually lift up on hinges. In order to do that, that meant there had to be a way to disconnect and reconnect the track at those joints on, on either side of that piece that lifted up. Fortunately, I found a company in the UK that makes these wonderful little track things that, that you can actually bring a level down to, and they'll be perfectly aligned every time. Next, we built up the mountains, and of course we had to build a slope that's not really there for the train to come back up. While there is a river in Salem, it's not where I put it. I moved it. At least it used to be way down Salem Road when I was a little kid, but it used to be there with a little waterfall and everything. So I decided to make a big giant waterfall, since I have the train coming up this half a mountain thing, and brought the river into the town itself. When I got done with my painting of the mountains and rivers, those elements looked a lot more real than the felt grass I had initially put on the model. The felt grass, I thought, just made it look really fake. So I pulled all the felt grass off and went and got some more really fine modeling grass and things like that, and put that down on the landscape so it would mix in with the other dirt areas that were on the model. And I think that gave it a little more realistic look. So the last thing I built was the Salem Airport, which was this really fascinating, bustling, hustling thing with a parachute club. I think it maybe even had 2 runways. It was really popular there in the 70s and 80s until it shut down. Building the runway, I decided I wanted it to be able to be photographed, so that it looked kind of halfway real. So we took a road and built that. And there were lights on it at nighttime, so we put some of those LED lights along the runway and in a black straw so you couldn't see it, and then paved over that. And then we did like a cyclorama thing around the back of the runway with a photo of another runway that goes off into a horizon. So we kind of merged the two by printing it, the background on a laser printer, and blue screening it, and then just gluing it all together. And even when you look at it in real life, it looks, kind of impressive for a model. So now that I have my blue screen up, you can, put any type of cloud background you want in it, change the lighting on the town, the shadows, all kinds of things to make it photorealistic at least. Thank you for giving me your time, and I hope you enjoy Salem MI.